Here, looking at Trump Tower in New York as we continue to track the fallout from the historic verdict against former President Donald Trump. Former President Trump was found guilty on all 34 charges in the so-called hush money trial. This unprecedented moment could have major implications for the upcoming presidential election. So here to help make a sense of it all is CBS News chief political analyst John Dickerson. John, good morning. Good to see you.
Morning, Vlad. Good to see you.
Before we came on air, I asked you if I could ask you a big picture about Watergate. We're 50 years since Richard Nixon resigned from the presidency. Republicans then, led by Barry Goldwater, went to President Nixon and said, you do not have the votes in the Senate to survive an impeachment. You have to resign. Now we've got what Bob Costa is calling red tie Republicans in lockstep with whatever happens to former President Trump. From now this conviction to his early impeachments. What does this mean for the country?
Well,
it's a big question.
Yeah, because politics has changed so much since the Nixon era. You have, we could be here till dinner to go through all of the different changes. But I think the most important thing is that we saw a test to the electoral system after 2020 when the loser of that race lied, and then some amount of the party rallied behind him. It led to an attack on the Capitol, and his party pushed him away. And you thought the gravity of politics had been reasserted. The norms that you talked about that were operative when Goldwater and Hugh Scott and other Republicans went to Nixon and said, you have breached something. Those were in place after January 6th. They're not in place anymore. A lot of those people who condemned Donald Trump after January 6th are now supporting him. So that same kind of test is now happening with the legal system. And you have politics mixing in, and in your interview with Senator Cotton, you saw some of it, which is people who support the president are now running down the legal system for the purpose as a way to protect the president, and that can be very dangerous. That isn't to say you're not allowed to appeal. That isn't to say you're not allowed to complain about the judge and the jury and everything else. But when you say things like Joe Biden is behind this, for which there is no evidence, that sows doubt. And we have a really, really recent example of what happens when you sow doubt in the system. People take matters into their own hands. We saw that with the election in January 6th. That's what's being set up now in the legal system after this verdict by those who would undermine the system as a way of defending the party nominee.
The fact that so many people in Congress, those red tie Republicans, support Donald Trump is because he has such a strong base, such a supportive community behind him. I want to talk about the base and their absolute inability to see him in the do no wrong category, because they take no measure to say that he has committed any crimes, that he's done anything wrong. He's a really nice guy. And I'm curious, where does that almost cultish behavior come from?
Well, they see him fighting for them. They see when we see this in political science, when you lock in on a candidate, you feel it intensely and personally. So an attack on the candidate is an attack on you personally. And they also see evidence of conspiracy from those forces on the other side of politics, which they don't just disagree with, but which they think are evil. And we've seen both parties, though there's more of it in the Republican camp, see the other side not just as wrong, but evil. So if you think evil forces are coming after your guy, you will excuse his behavior, because the big thing to keep your eye on for his supporters is the evil being done to your guy, and you don't want those evil forces to prevail.
Boy, John, Donald Trump says the real verdict's going to be November 5th in the election. It really feels like we're heading toward an election where to vote for Donald Trump is to vote to keep him out of prison and off of probation and away from consequences. And a vote against him is to say you must face the consequences and the music and potentially prison.
This is the most important question coming out of this entire trial, is to remember what we're talking about here in a presidential election. It's a job interview for a very serious job. And even if you believe he was wronged in court, that doesn't mean he's right for the presidency. And one of the things that that this trial does, like all these legal proceedings, is they are a window into the character of Donald Trump. Because people are under oath talking about his character. Does he tell the truth? Does he honor his commitments? Is he fair in his dealings? They have to talk about this under oath, and facts matter. And so what does this window into his character show you from this case and from all these other legal proceedings? And why does character matter in the presidency? Because it's a job of enormous power, enormous responsibilities, and temptations. And if you don't have character, you succumb to all of that. And why does that matter? Because when you succumb, the stakes are high. in a pandemic, in a national security crisis, and the rest of the country pays the price. So character is key to the job, and this is a window into Donald Trump's character. And the jury decided that he lied, that he did not honor his commitments. Now, you may decide as a legal matter is not reason to convict him, but it's not a reason to elect him to be president of the United States.
John Dickerson, facts matter.
Yeah, wow.
Said it best.
Brilliant analysis as always, John.